Kakadosh Boker Tov. We're going to continue with halachot in Siman Samech. Maram brings down a few halachot which are very important. I'm going to start though with Sif Daled, and then we'll continue from there. Maran says in Sif Daled, Yesh omrim she'en mitzvot tzrichot kavana, v'yesh omrim she'tzrichot kavana latzet ba'asiyat ota mitzvah. V'chen halacha. Maram brings down a yesh v'yesh. Yesh, the first yesh omrim is that mitzvot do not need kavana, which means you just did a mitzvah, even though you didn't have any intention doing the mitzvah, you're yitzei chovah. Maran then brings down another yesh omrim that says, no, mitzvot tzrichot kavana. What does that mean, kavana? Latzet ba'asiyat ota mitzvah. But Maran finishes v'chen halacha. That is the halacha. Now it's actually very interesting. Why does Maran have to finish with v'chen halacha? We have a general rule, yesh v'yesh, halacha ki yesh batra. So if right now you have two yesh omrims, meaning some people say A and some people say B, the halacha, the general rule is that we always go like B. So why does Maran have to finish v'chen halacha? So the truth is that Rabbi Yosef already comes and he explains in Yabi'a Omer, and he says as following. He says some people say because the mashmaut of this klal is only when dato notele de ashniya, right? Which means that when we just say the general rule, halacha, right, ki yesh batra, that means that his mindset is that it's probably like the halacha is like the second dat. However, though, if you do like the first one, you have what to rely on. Therefore, here he said v'chel halacha to be posek legamre. That's it. V'chel halacha. This is the halacha. Don't even think about that. If you're going to do the first one, you're going. No, this is the halacha. Other people wanted to say that Kavanat Shulchan Aruch is that usually he says like this. He says, here it's not just because he paskin like it on his own. It's because the majority of the Rova Poskim, right, hold like that. So therefore, when you do yesh v'yesh, halacha yesh batra, why? The majority is like the second opinion. However, though here, he's saying the reason why he's paskening like that is because of the rayot, the proofs, and therefore he finishes off by saying, v'chen halacha. So that's going to be number one, chen halacha. Now, why is this halacha so important? There's going to be a few reasons, right? Number one, the Arizal HaKadosh. The Arizal HaKadosh says, and the Kavana brings him down in Sif Katan Yod, he says like this, every single mitzvah, you have an aspect of the mitzvah which is ruchanit, right? It says, shel guf, uvechina ruchanit shel neshama. So he says, when you come and you do the action of the mitzvah, ma'aseh mitzvah, so then that is the guf of the mitzvah. He comes and he says, and any time that the mitzvah is done with dibur, for example, tefillah and Talmud Torah, so therefore it's done through the speech. So for example, when you're saying tefillah, there's no action, it's with your mouth. Or when you're doing Talmud Torah, there's no action, it's with your mouth. So therefore the dibur there is ma'aseh mitzvah. That is the guf of the mitzvah. He says the kavana is the neshama of the mitzvah. And therefore he says a mitzvah which is done without kavana, it's like a guf below neshama. It's like the body without the neshama. And therefore the Or Letzion adds in Chokhmah Musar, and he says that the more that a person is going to delve deep in kavanat mitzvah, so too will be the reward for doing the mitzvah. And because of that, the Or Letzion also, again there in Chokhmah Musar, brings down that when a person wants to come and he wants to do chesed with his friend, for example, he wants to give tzedakah to a poor person, or he's doing a chesed, he should think beforehand that he's doing the mitzvah taboreh, and he's not doing it because he feels bad or he has mercy on the person. And therefore, why? Because if not, then you're not doing the mitzvah. You have to have in mind that you're doing the mitzvah. Another important one, which is actually brought down here, is the Or Letzion also brings, right, in Chelek Bet, that when a person is going to pay sachar sachir, what does that mean? Somebody does a job for you, and now you're going to pay them for doing the job. So he says, right, tzarich lechaven, you have to have kavanah that you're doing a mitzvah taseh min Torah, you're fulfilling a positive commandment of the Torah, of tashlum sechar sachir, that you're paying a person on time for the job that he's done. Okay, so he says why? He says sharen etinata tashlum, because when you're paying him, you're not doing it for a mitzvah usually. Meaning, if we wouldn't tell you that this is a mitzvah to pay your worker, you would just say, listen, I owe the guy money, he just did for me a job, here, I'm paying him back. He says, no, you have to have that in mind. So he says, if you're not going to be mechavem beferush, lo yatsa yedeh chovat mitzvah. You're not going to be yitzeh chovah the mitzvah. So he comes here and he says, the Kaf HaChaim and Siman HaShlam Bet Sif Katan Tetvav, that also you should be mechavem lekayem also the mitzvot lo ta'aseh. of lo tavo alav hashemesh velo talil nivlato, which means that when a person comes and he pays a worker, it's not only just one mitzvah taseh doraita of biyomot iten secharo, that on the same day that he works you have to actually come and pay him. There's also negative commandments. Lo tavo alav shemesh, that the sun should not set and you still didn't pay him. Right? Lo talin, also lo talin, bal talin. Again, the same thing. So therefore, you've got many different mitzvot in the same mitzvah. So that's also going to be very important. So now, according to this, it comes out that when a person is going to come and he's going to do a mitzvah, it's not just stam that he's doing it. He should always think beforehand. Because of that, obviously, there's going to be a concept of l'shem yichud. Some people like the l'shem yichud. Why? Because it stops you and it comes and it tells you 1 second, before you do anything, what are we doing? We're doing a mitzvah. It could be anything. It could be put on to tefillin. It could be anything that a person is doing in order to fulfill the mitzvah. So obviously there's going to be a lot of branches from here, whether it's going to be doraitas, derabanans. What happens if it's obvious that you're doing it for a mitzvah, blowing the shofar? You're obviously not just blowing it because you like the sound. Obviously it's for a mitzvah. So we will speak about b'li within the next few days, many different halachot pertaining to this halakha. However, though, it's very, very important, this concept of mitzvot sichot kavana, that when you do a mitzvah, you should have in mind, right, that you're doing it for the mitzvah, because then a person could have thousands of mitzvot extra that it's with very, very little work. All it is the kavana, and you're doing it anyway. A person anyway comes and he gives tzedakah. A person anyway will come and he'll do chesed. So if you're going to have in mind that you're doing a mitzvah, obviously it's going to be much greater the reward.